Hi, this is Dual Match version 3.0.0. It's for the 2D Toolkit. I've moved away from GUI, and this is just a preview of what the 2D Toolkit of the Dual Frame Match looks like. You can see that I've already spaced it out in Z order so that there is no conflicts if you use a large prefab that has some Z spacing between it. It will still look flat because the camera is orthographic. That's what it says there. And for those who downloaded the package before I made the change, if you change the resolution, it may look scrunched up. What you want to do is you would want to go to the camera settings here in the 2D camera and look for forced resolution. Uncheck this and it will sort of like ratio itself out again. See that? Okay, back to why we are here is that some of you may want to insert their own prefab or swap out the already default gems but may not know how to do so. So if we go to the prefabs, you can see there's a gem folder, and these are all the gems that I've been using for the defaults. In 2D Toolkit, I could not use the regular sprite because the regular sprite does not have this, which is the dimensions for the sprite. If I would change this, for those that want to make their own, you can actually just find any of this and press Ctrl D, which will duplicate the item. So now I have two prefabs of the same type. I can just name this, for example, a new test subject, anything you like actually. So you'll have the things that is already set up. All you have to do is change the atlas if you like. To change atlas in 2D Toolkit, you will probably need to go to the Create Sprite Collection. It's in the project settings under Create 2D Toolkit Sprite Collection. This will help you make a new sprite atlas for 2D Toolkit. So you can choose to save where you want to save your 2D Toolkit prefab. For me, I've chose to save it in the atlas section called resources, and these are all the sprites that I have inside, which is similar to the GUI version that I've had before this. Everything is all in one atlas, and it barely fits into the 1024 times 1024 resolution. As you can see, there's only like 1% left. So you can make your own sprite collection, or you can reuse and edit the current sprite collection that I have. And back to the prefabs, once you made a new collection, you can choose it here. These are all default by 2D Toolkit. Mine is called resources, and then after that you can click the gem yellow, or you can click this, and you can choose what you like from your collection. Let's just say that I want this gem to look like this white panel for now. And as you can see, I need to use slice sprites, as I was mentioning earlier, because if I were the easiest way to change between sprites in 2D Toolkit is to right click around here, and you can have an option to convert to the different types of sprite. And if I were to convert to the normal sprite, you can see that it uses scaling and does not have the dimensions that was in the sprite slice sprite. I needed that for the auto size of my board. So if you were to use the normal sprite, you will have to set the scale yourself so that it fits into the board. If you want it to be automatic by my game manager, then you will need to convert it to a slice sprite. The dimensions, you don't have the border because it's automatically set during the game. What you would need to do is to make sure that the anchor is in the middle center and that the border is 0. So once you have this set up, you can go to the game manager panel and choose to use your own prefab. These are all the normal gems and these are all the special gems in order. So hopefully you need to follow the order that you have already specified here. So if the first one is red gem and then followed by black and orange, then this is the match 4 type 1, and then red, vertical, horizontal, and the star power gem, and then followed by the black like you specified here earlier, orange, and then white, yellow, purple. Just follow them in order. And if you want to swap them out, just swap them out like this. And when I play it, so instead of seeing my red gem, I will see the white block which replaced the red gem now. Oops, something went wrong. It's supposed to scale. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Yeah. Just now you saw the error just now was because I was messing with the scales earlier. Make sure that the scale here is 1:1 so that it's in proportion, and leave the dimensions alone. You can actually set it to whatever you like. Actually, the dimensions doesn't matter because I've readjusted it during runtime. But make sure that the scale is 1:1 and that up here the original scale is also 1:1. So when I click play, you will see that it adjusts itself. So if I were to go to the game manager panel, I have this size option here which you can drag and resize the board. So when you resize the board, and if it's a slice sprite, everything will scale to proportion. If I were to use a really big scale, that's just a demo. However, you can also use non-2D Toolkit sprites. You can actually use, for example, a 3D object that you like. For example, I have a cube. So this cube, I will drag it into a prefab. So I have this cube prefab. You may want to reset the position so that it's always in 0. And what you need to do is the same thing. Just drag the cube to the correct slot that you want. But for non-slice sprite prefabs, you will need to adjust the scale yourself. So one easy way to do that is to drag the prefab into the scene. Just position it 0, 0 so that it's aligned with the board. Look at your prefab and adjust the scale as necessary. Maybe 2 would be fine. So then you can get to see how it looks like on the grid. And if you're satisfied with it, hit apply or drag into to make a new prefab. Make sure it's saved, the settings. The Z order, well, it looks a bit flat now, but in a 2D game you can't really see it unless you're rotating it. So if you're rotating it, just keep everything in proportion. Hit apply, throw the cubes away, and click play. You'll see now that they are cubes. But if I were to do the same thing as I did just now to resize the board, right now my board is a small board, you will see that the cube does not resize with the board. See, now it's bigger than the board. Or else if my board is really big, it will become really small. So for non-slice sprites, as I mentioned many times, you'll have to adjust the scale yourself. But it does support various types of game objects that you would like to use onto the game manager panel. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks. Sorry guys, I forgot to mention one thing. One of the reasons why I spaced it out in this Z order is that I have different panels as well as gems that are behind objects or in front of objects. For example, if you were to look at the random, what you can see is that the eyes are on top of this black gem, and so forth. Like for example, this panel is behind the object. If you were to go to the scene and have a closer look, you can see that the eyes panel is in front of it, of the other gems, and that the gems are in the normal Z plane, and behind it is the panels. So hopefully when you swap out all my prefabs, you would leave the, for example the panels, you would leave the Z order as 00 and only adjust if you really need it, because I have already automatically adjusted in the game manager while it is building up the board. So yeah, that's the reason for it. That's all. Thanks.